Good morning, everybody. It's February 5th, 2017. I think it's February 5th. Anyways, I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, so we get the Pats and the Falcons today. Going to be an interesting game. Of course, being from Massachusetts, I'm a Pats fan. Although there are people that have migrated to Massachusetts from other areas of the country that won't be rooting for the Pats today. I guess the Pats are probably one of the most vilified teams in the country as far as in the entire league. It seems um, they have a lot of rivalries. They have a lot of championships, so they have a lot of trips to the big game. But enough about that. It's funny. Well, actually, I did want to say this. It's funny. I find myself. I don't know if I'm that great of a Pats fan because I find myself not being as interested in the outcome of this game as I probably used to be. It seems like I enjoy watching the games, um, and I enjoy watching the big plays, and whether on offense or defense. And it's not necessarily about the color of the jersey that they're wearing. Don't get me wrong, there are some teams that I just don't like, and some of those teams that I don't like, quite frankly, it's the head coach that I really don't like, and so I'll root against the team just because I don't like that coach. It's kind of weird, but anyways, so this is a Sunday morning sneak down. Uh, in other news, Tim Horton, the Tim Horton Cup has failed again after several cycles through the dishwasher. The one of the joints failed. One of the Gorilla Glue joints failed, so it didn't take long before the handle came completely off again. And I think I'm done with my repair attempts on that cup. So that's okay. I'll 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 soldier through not having my Tim Horton cup this morning. In other news, got a haircut. Last couple of videos that I edited, I kind of had this Fozzie Bear thing going where my hair was really starting to get unmanageable. It's the typical male problem for guys my age, where the hair on the side of your head wants to grow like wildfire, but the hair on the top doesn't do anything. So you end up with this kind of a not a great look. So this is my summer haircut, even though it's February. Basically, go right in there, sit down, and say, don't even pick up any scissors. Just grab yourself your number one clippers and go to town. It takes about 5 minutes for them to do. The wife sometimes would give me that haircut, but lately she's been kind of busy, and we had some company coming over on Friday, and I kind of wanted to look a little bit more presentable, so I just doled out the confetti there and got myself a haircut at the place downtown. But I'm sure you don't want to hear about my haircut. So let's take a look at what I've got here. This is a gentleman that I met at the last estate sale. Um, those of you who saw the estate sale video know that I dealt with a guy who called him number one because he was the first guy through the door. Well, while number one and I were loading things into the back of his Jeep, a guy happened to see what we had bought and came up, and he just said, "Hey, do you guys buy that kind of stuff?" And we said, "Yeah," and had a little bit of conversation. And he said that he's got quite a bit of stuff. He'd like to have us come out and take a look at it. And number one lives an hour away from here, and this gentleman happens to live only 2 towns away from me. So he didn't have a problem with just letting me and the other guy. He had no interest in going out and looking at this other stuff. So I got the name and number of this gentleman. It took about a week or two before his schedule and my schedule coincided, so I could finally get out there and take a look at what he's got. And unfortunately, when I got out there, I found out that the reality of the situation is that he's somebody who sells at flea markets, and he does his research. So I didn't find any measuring instrumentation, almost nothing of interest to me. All he had were some common micrometers, some indicators out of cases that weren't in great shape, and several other items that I mean, there was no money to be made on some of the stuff that I picked up, that I looked at. But then we went to his back shed where he had just boxes and boxes of stuff that he hauls out to the flea market and lets people just pick through. And I picked through that, and I got a few items that I'm glad I picked up, so that the trip out to his house wasn't a complete waste of time. So let's dive right into that stuff. So needless to say, I didn't spend much money there that day. This little basket here pretty much contains the items. This little basket here contains the items that were like half decent. And then I've got just another box over here, a bucket, where I found some scrap steel and stuff, and we'll go through that in a moment. But I had these 2 punch sets. And initially I passed on these, but then at the last minute I went back and decided to buy these. I think I paid 15 bucks for the pair. This is a numbers set. And these are both, they say, best steel figures. This says warranted NYSWKS. So that's New York something. Oh, New York Steelworks, I guess, would be who made those. So I'm not familiar with that company. And we got a full set of letters. Same manufacturer, a little bit different label. This is ink stamped into the box. This is a paper label applied, so maybe the age is different on these. 1/8 inch steel letters. So I think I paid 15 for the pair of these. Alright, so this next item here is the only item out of that display case, the nicer stuff that he, well, his nicer stuff that he had, that I decided to buy from him, which was, I paid 10 bucks for this pair of Starrett 161B clamps. And I've got several of these clamps. But what I liked about these was that they had the original box, and they were original, you know, they were Starrett's. So that's probably the nicest thing I ended up getting out of this haul, quite frankly, except for I got some interesting taps, which I'll get to the taps in a moment, as long as I've got it right here. I spotted this in a box. This is clearly, he had this, he still had his price on here for the flea market. This is a, or somewhere, actually, you know what? This code right here and this number make me think that this may have even been in a co-op or something like that, an antique co-op. But anyways, 6-inch dado blade by Powercraft, 8 bucks. I don't even know if it's complete, but we get the box. Well, here we go. Here's the list right here. So it's supposed to have 2 outside blades, 3 inside cutters, 1 inside cutter, and it cuts to an 11/16 inch groove. So 3, 4, 5 should be 6 pieces.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Looks like all 6 pieces are there. So this is what's, for those who don't know woodworking, this is called a stacked dado head cutter. And this is, you mount this on your arbor of your table saw, and this actually cuts a groove, which is called the dado, in wood. And then you can have a what they call a rabbet, which is the male portion that goes into the groove. And it's a handy little thing to have, and it looks brand new with the original box. And I gave 3 bucks for this, so I'm happy with that purchase for 3 bucks. Boy, you know, I was probably pretty desperate to make something come of this trip out there, because I bought taps. I pretty much shy away from buying taps these days, because typically the problem with buying taps, even at flea markets and stuff like that, is you know, what the person who's got the box of taps wants you to do is pick out that one size you currently need, and they'll figure that they could sell you that one tap for, you know, a couple of bucks, 2, 3 bucks a piece, because they know what it costs to buy a new tap if you need that tap. Whereas I look at them from the point of view as, well, I really just, you know, I've got so many taps now, I can't imagine I'm going to stumble upon a tap that I actually really need. So I want to buy the taps for 25 cents a piece, you know, in bulk. And I've done that so many times now that I've got quite a lot of taps. So I kind of just stay away from taps, but came across taps in several boxes, and lo and behold, found myself putting together piles of taps. So the small taps, I only grabbed a couple of these small taps because they were the power tapping style with the groove that actually moves the chips out of the way so that you don't really have to back them out. So I got a few of these. And then all of these other ones pretty much, for the most part, I mean, these are decent size. But I just looked at some of these larger ones and realized that if you had to buy just one of these taps, like for instance, this is a 1 1/8 inch 7 TPI, coarse thread tap. Looks like it's in good shape. A little bit of surface rust there, nothing we can't deal with. This is made by a company called Bay State, but you can imagine what that one tap would cost you. Look at this sucker. This is a North Attleboro tap. Interesting. This is a 1.5 inch -11.5 pipe thread tap. That's a big honking tap there. This is a 1 3/4 inch 12 pitch Bay State tap. This one looks like it may have never been used. And here's really coarse thread one. This is a North Attleboro 1 inch. This is pipe thread. And here's a fine thread. Here's a Card. That's a good name. Card USA tap. This is a this says 1-16N. So I guess it's a 1 inch, 16 threads per inch. I'm not going to go through every one of these taps and bore everyone to death. But you can see I got a nice pile of taps there. I think I gave 20 bucks for the whole pile. All right, I did pull these two taps out from the pile just to take a quick look at them because I thought they were interesting, because I don't think I have any taps that have an end on it like this, which is interesting to me. It almost looks like it's made so that it can be supported by like a tailstock or like a center to maybe keep the tap. Well, why the tap should follow the hole. So I don't know. I don't understand that purpose of this part right here on this tap. And then this is a nice one. This is pretty sure this is a pulley tap. This is for reaching down in between the sheaves of a pulley to tap a hole for a set screw. But that's a pretty big one, if that's what that is. This is a 1/2 inch 13. Somebody's engraved on here that this is a 1 inch 20. Looks like a 1 inch 20 and then a W, maybe. W something. I wonder if this is I might say WH. Maybe this is a Whitworth thread. And there was some high-speed steel end mills and stuff there that I passed on because I'm pretty lousy with those unless it's something unusual. So like this one I grabbed. This is a Morse. It looks like it might say it's a 48 degree. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. So I'm not sure what that is, but it struck my fancy, so I added it to the pile because I knew it wasn't going to make much difference in the cost that I ended up paying. This is the only countersink I found other than this one. This is I could tell this is a weld on without even looking at it because they seem to be the only company that makes this style. I found this burr. It doesn't feel heavy enough to be carbide, and it looks like it was being used in masonry or something like that, maybe tile. But I'll throw that in the container of burrs I have. And this was included in the bundle of taps. So I kept coming across pieces of steel and stuff like this here and there. So finally I ended up saying, well, why don't I just put together a bundle of this stuff and we'll do all of it for one money. So I think I ended up giving 25 or 30 bucks for all of the steel that I grabbed. But this is the small stuff. And I'll show you a couple of the big pieces that I got, which I think made it worth the money. So let me just unload some of this. All right, so this is just part of it. You know, there's a nice piece of steel there, round. You know, this might be something I could turn into something useful. You saw this block. That's a nice hunk of aluminum. Nice hunk of aluminum. 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 And this appears to also be aluminum. Steel. Here's a steel plate. This, I just realized this is high-speed steel.